Welcome back to another edition of Doc Talk with Monument Health. I'm Mark Houston, and today we're standing inside something brand new, Monument's state-of-the-art hybrid operating room built for the region's most complex heart and vascular cases. I'm talking with Dr. Tommaso Cambiaghi, a cardiothoracic and vascular surgeon who trained in Milan and Texas before landing here in Rapid City to walk through this space and talk about the endovascular technology that's letting patients get world-class aortic care without ever leaving home. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Doc Talk with Monument Health. My name is Mark Houston, and Monument just opened the doors to something brand new that we're standing in here today, a new state-of-the-art operating space built for the most complex heart and vascular cases in the region. Today, we're walking through it with Dr. Cambiaghi, a cardiothoracic and vascular surgeon who trained in Milan, in Texas, before landing here in Rapid City. I'm really interested to get to why you ended up here in Rapid City on this journey, Doctor.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's the Black Hills are a little different from the Alps.
Yeah,
but the opportunity of building something new in a place that somewhat resembles home. I was from a small town. I grew up close to hills, and I've been through all this training, and I wanted to find a place where this training was really needed. And Rapid City in the area that Monument serves really needed advanced cardiothoracic surgery and advanced vascular surgery. And so I'm happy to be here to provide that.
So how does this look in, like in a country where, in Italy where you're from, is it, you guys have similar spaces like this there? I mean, could you not find something there that you were looking for, and that's kind of why you wanted to come over here to the United States?
Yeah, so the Italian healthcare system is extremely different from the American one. It's a nationalized healthcare system. It's great for patients that don't have the means to afford insurance or cover their own costs. But on the other side, has extremely limited resources because costs have to be contained. And so it's very rare to find a facility, even in smaller areas, that has the ability to provide such advanced technology to the patient.
Well, like I said, this is a brand new space that we're in here today. So kind of walk us through really quick about what we're seeing in a space like this. I mean, starting obviously where the patient will be, correct?
Yes, so this is what we call a hybrid room. Hybrid because it combines the open operating room abilities, so I can do any type of open surgery. We have anesthesia standing there. We have a heart and lung machine in the back, and we can do any type of surgical procedure. But on top of that, it also has endovascular capabilities, meaning we can do minimally invasive approaches by looking at devices through an X-ray machine and seeing them on a screen, so that I can do complex interventions inside of a patient without having to have big incisions. I can just go into their vessels from the groins or the wrist and insert these devices without having to open them up and put them through the stress of an open operation.
So what you're bringing to this is aortic and like endovascular expertise, right? That's your whole background on this. Kind of explain a little bit what that is for somebody that might not know.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pathology that can be treated with endovascular means. My main interest and focus is aortic pathology. That has been covered extensively recently in the news, thanks to or because of Senator Graham's demise from aortic dissection. That's just a little part of what aortic pathology looks like. The aorta is a big blood vessel that comes out of the heart and gives blood flow to everything in the body. It gives branches to the arms, the legs, the intestines, the kidneys. And unfortunately, because of different disease processes, it can dilate and form aneurysms, which are bulgings of the aorta that can eventually rupture and cause to bleeding out, or they can cause dissections. And there's multiple ways to approach this, and endovascular surgery has been pushing the envelope in trying to fix all these pathologies without big operations that will allow stress on the patient.
Well, let's talk a little bit about a procedure that you are super familiar with, that you actually kind of helped create, which is the TAMBE. Can you walk us through that a little bit, what that means, and how you kind of were at the forefront of this?
Yeah, so TAMBE is actually the specific device that can be used for something called endovascular repair of thoracoabdominal aortic aneurysms. So aortic aneurysms, again, are dilations of the aorta in both the chest portion and the belly portion, and they're quite challenging to manage. Open surgery requires extensive operations that last up to 12 hours that put the patient at extremely high risk, and they have to go through tough recovery. So endovascular surgery has been trying to fill that need for a less invasive operation. The way it works is we insert these devices through the groin, put them inside of the aorta, and then we have to connect multiple pieces from the aorta to the arteries, to the liver, to the intestines, to the kidneys. And while in the past we would have to modify a stent to be able to do that, now this TAMBE device comes pre-made with the 4 branches that allows us to treat all these vessels.
So the device is what's actually going, is it going inside? Is it permanent?
It is permanent. It's kind of like relying on a disease pipe, okay? Think about the aorta as a big pipe and it's leaking, and instead of replacing the pipe like you would do in the old days by opening the chest and belly, we just reline it from the inside to prevent any leakage.
So it just seems to me like it's a really glorified stent in a way, just a much better way to do this whole thing.
It is a glorified stent. It's a big stent with multiple components. It takes a lot more work and expertise to complete, but it is a glorified stent.
Well, how did you start with this? I mean, how did you become involved with in essence helping create this a little bit? Did you?
Yeah, so I wasn't involved in the creation process per se as much in the evaluation of its applicability to people. This was before I even finished medical school. I was in a big center in Milan, and we were doing a lot of the early work with complex endovascular therapies. And the Gore TAMBE device, which is what you brought up, wasn't even on the market. It was like barely on trial, and we still didn't know how effective or how helpful it would be to the population. So I spent many nights studying CT scans, so information of different patients that were previously treated with the big open operation I mentioned, to see how many of those patients could have been treated with the Gore TAMBE device. And we saw that more and more patients could get treated. We made some adjustments to the design of the stent to even expand its applicability to even more patients. Because the only limitation of this device is it comes in only 2 configurations. So unless you meet that configuration as a patient, that wouldn't really be an option. I would have to look at other more complex endovascular.
Right.
So that's what some of the early work in my research was focused on, seeing how many patients we could actually help with this device. And then more recently, I kind of pushed the envelope in trying to expand the applicability of this device by delivering it through a vein instead of an artery. Arteries are the vessels that go from the heart towards the outside, and veins flow in the opposite direction. Now, arteries in older patients can be very small and calcified, and sometimes not big enough to allow the delivery of this device, this TAMBE. Veins, on the other hand, very rarely calcify, and they're normally bigger than arteries. So in a patient that needed it, we used the vein to get into the body, then went from the vein into the artery and deployed the device. And we were able to treat this patient that would have otherwise not have had a solution for a problem.
That had to be very rewarding.
It is. It's years and years of training. It's like 6 years of medical schools, 2 years of masters, 5 years of vascular surgery training, 2 more of cardiothoracic, and then we're here in Rapid City. And even in a place that you think is a small town, smaller hospital, we were able to deliver such a complex procedure. And this just builds on years and years of studying, training, practicing, but also relies on a much bigger team. Right. This is not a one-man show. Surgery is a team effort. We have anesthesiologists that keep our patients safe and asleep during the procedure. We have scrub techs that handling the instruments that are needed for the procedure, circulating nurses that provide all the devices that are needed, radiology techs that help optimize the imaging during these endovascular procedures, and everybody outside of the operating room that helps take care of the patients before and after surgery.
Well, if somebody's on this table here, how many people approximately are in the room at any given time?
It really depends on the complexity of the case. Usually we would have...
It's the most complex one you're doing.
The most complex would have 1 to 2 anesthesia providers at the head monitoring the patient vitals and respiration. Would have 1 surgeon or even 2 surgeons, depending on the extent of the procedure, and 1 or 2 dedicated assistants. Then there would be a scrub tech, which is the person that hands you the instruments, and a radiology tech that hands you all the endovascular material. And sometimes they handle also the movement and fine-tuning of the image. And these are the people that are right next to the patient. And then there's at least a couple of nurses in the room that can help gather supplies that are needed as things move.
So a room this size is needed. I mean, just for this sheer amount of people that are coming in and out while you're doing this.
Yes, and it's not only the people, it's also the devices.
Right.
A lot of the devices have their own machinery they plug into, and those sit around the table. There's a hardline machine for the more complex ones, and there's other ancillary endovascular devices that have to find room in the operating room as well.
So in here, what I'm noticing too is the procedures you're doing in here are hands-on. There's not robotic really surgery that happens in here at all.
Correct. We do robotic cardiothoracic surgery that has a different set of specialized equipment. You probably have heard of the Da Vinci robot.
Yes.
And we do some of that, just not in this setting. Okay. Now, there is the room of potentially bringing in a Da Vinci robot if we wanted to do hybrid robotic and endovascular surgery. That is a very limited niche, so the robot doesn't sit in this room permanently, but that is a possibility.
So kind of quickly, if you can, doctor, kind of walk us through what you would be doing at this table. Are you basically on this side of the table as you're doing it? Do you have a preferred side? If you were on the other, you'd feel uncomfortable?
Most procedures that happen in the belly and chest, I would stand on the right side of the patient, just because I'm right-handed and everything moves smoother when I work from this side, just habit. But if I'm working, for example, on a left leg, I may stand on the opposite side, okay? So the majority of the cases I would be here. This way I have access to the controls that can be moved on the opposite side if I am standing there. And from here I can control different movements. I can have the table move up to adjust to my height. I can move it up and down or to the sides to get better exposure to different portions. And then there's the key portion of the endovascular equipment, which is that C-arm. The C-arm has an X-ray emitter and then a detector on the opposite side. And all the pictures I take with that come up on that machine over there. And with these controls, I can turn the C-arm to get better angles. I can move it up and down so that I can get the best angle of view of the diseased vessel or aorta or whatever other branch.
So these are kind of, I mean, obviously you're seeing what's happening as they're laying here, but this has kind of become a more high-tech version of your eyes as well as you're doing the procedure.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I'm still working on my X-ray vision, so in the meantime, I have to settle for this machine.
Well, maybe that'll bring it all down to be much smaller. This is the giant equipment as soon as you get that X-ray vision. How long has a piece of equipment like this been around?
So there's been different iterations throughout the years. I would say the most primary ones were portable C-arms that were no different from the X-ray machines we do to do chest X-rays. Right. And the image quality was extremely poor. The X-ray dose that we would emit in the air would be much higher. And then those have been getting smaller and smaller. And with higher resolution, there's been portable machines on wheels. And then we evolved to these more fixed systems. These have better imaging capability. They have lower radiation dose, which is important to protect the patient from any negative effects from X-rays, and also the team that operates with this machinery every day. And as the imaging system advances, they not only show us what's inside the patient as we take X-rays, but they can also allow us to see what's inside the patient before we even take an X-ray. They do that by overlaying images from existing CT scans on the screen so that we know where we're working on without even doing X-rays in real time.
Well, I mean, all of this stuff is exactly what you see on television sometimes too. In movies they show you, but this to me seems even more involved, and it has to be exciting for you, like you mentioned earlier at the top of the podcast, is that for a small town like Rapid City, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere in a lot of instances between Minneapolis and Denver and Billings up in Montana. People I think worry when they have these issues that you've described. well, that's where I'm going to have to go. That's where I'm going to have to end up. And that's going to cost more money and time, and family can't be around, right? So in a room like this, and with procedures that you do, I mean, this has to make you feel pretty good in the sense that you get to help these people without sending them
Yes,
all over the world.
that's the most rewarding thing about
Yeah.
this job is we get to help people that would have otherwise no option but traveling 5-6 hours. You know, the nearest aortic center with this capability would be Denver going south, maybe Sioux Falls, but more likely Minneapolis and Mayo Clinic. And all these patients I've been treating in the past year, in the past I had to go there, take a plane and with the cost of travel, not having the family support that can otherwise have over here. And also not only for the procedure itself, but also for all the follow-ups.
Yeah.
You know, every time you need to go and get this procedure checked, which is something that is very important to do periodically, they would have to take a plane to Minnesota or Colorado. And so being able to provide this service for this patient has been extremely rewarding. I've ran into some of my patients in the grocery store. You know, I've been taking care of patients that had previously been treated in some of these bigger hospitals that, you know, don't have either the means, the time, or the capability of going back to get their follow-up and, you know, any fine-tuning that they may need in the future.
I mean, to me, this just feels, this feels like science fiction when you're walking around in a room like this. And all of the training you've done, and when you started in this technology has had to move incredibly fast, even for you. Is it hard to keep up with that? I mean, is the training is ongoing for you for forever, as long as you're going to do this, right?
Training never stops.
Right.
The fascinating thing in cardiovascular surgery is the constant evolution. If you think about it, 70 years ago, we didn't even have the heart and lung machine. Like cardiac surgery was something that was thought to be impossible. Anybody who would try to operate in the heart or blood vessels was deemed a fool. And now we can do these super complex procedures without even making incisions on this patient. And the pace hasn't been slowing down. Every month there's a new device, a new technique, a new technology. And it's extremely stimulating to keep up and have a new tool to offer to these patients every year. There's patients out there that maybe 2 years ago didn't have a solution to their problem, and now they can be easily managed.
Well, and you must love the tech side of this, the technology. I mean, that has to, like you said, the next evolution has to get you excited to be like, what is going to be next? And what am I going to get my hands on and start moving around, right?
It's exciting. You know, we keep going to conferences to stay up to date. There's courses about new devices, so we never get outdated. But the pace is incredible. It's extremely exciting. The big thing is going to be moving away from X-rays and relying more on navigational systems that don't rely on harmful radiation. Moving away from contrast media that can affect the kidneys or cause allergic reactions. Make these procedures even less invasive with smaller and smaller devices. And now AI is finding a role in cardiovascular medicine. And it's not only, to get ChatGPT to plan your vacation trip. It's also to find a way to find these patients earlier before it's too late, before aortic aneurysm or dissections takes their lives unnecessarily. It's to monitor them more carefully, to find what patient is at higher risk or lower risk, so we can train how aggressive we need to be with our treatment. Okay. It's all about, prevention rather than trying to take care of a problem when it's too late.
Hopefully they don't have to get here.
Right, eventually, right? That's the goal. That's the goal. I'll finally have some time off when we can prevent every single vascular problem. But yes, it's a lot easier, both on me and on the patient, to treat a problem when we find it early than when they show up in the emergency department and it may be too late.
Right. Well, this is, like I say, in this room as we're doing this podcast today, this room doesn't officially opening until, we're on a Friday and it doesn't open until Monday.
Correct.
So a patient hasn't been seen in here. All of this equipment is, fresh off the trucks and ready to go. And I mean, you have to be, Monday's got to be like your Super Bowl here coming up, or your World Cup, maybe I would say would be better.
That's right. The team is ready. The team is excited. We're at the top of our peak.
Yeah.
And on Monday at 7 a.m., we'll start our first procedure here.
Excellent.
We'll do All the preparations have been done. The supplies are here. The machine is working. So it's just a matter of playing the final.
Yeah, that's right. Well, who you taking, Argentina or Spain then?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would say Argentina deserves a win. I think Messi should end at a high.
That was my thought too. I mean, if he's going to go out, if he truly is going to be done, then yeah, I guess you got to pull for him a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Cambiaghi, thank you very much for taking time to do this. I know it was my kind of on a timetable here, so we got to get out of here. But I appreciate it, man, and I hope to talk to you again and do this after this has all been broken in a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Do a live case one day.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.